You're listening to The Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa. 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
Week 2 of the NFL came to a close with Monday Night Football in Philadelphia, where the Falcons rallied to beat the Eagles 22-21. With a minute 39 left and down 6, Atlanta quarterback Kirk Cousins led the team on a 6-play, 70-yard drive, capped it with a 7-yard touchdown pass to wide receiver Drake London. The extra point gave Atlanta the 1-point lead with 34 seconds left. Cousins went 20 of 29 passing for 141 yards with 2 touchdowns in the win. Philadelphia quarterback Jalen Hurts had 2 touchdowns, 1 passing, 1 rushing with an interception in the loss. Both teams are now 1-1 on the season. NFL news, the Carolina Panthers are benching former first overall pick quarterback Bryce Young. They'll start Andy Dalton this weekend against the Raiders. Kansas City Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks with a fractured fibula that will require surgery. In baseball, checking the playoff race, the Mets beat the Nationals 2-1 in 10 innings, while the Braves are shut out by the Dodgers 9-0. Mets have a 1-game lead on Atlanta for the final wildcard spot in the National League.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to recruit you, and our running back coach didn't take the test. biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. Box Eye Care, you can find them at 5003 Oscar Baxter Drive. They have that new location, bigger location, more inventory, more services, but the same great service you've always come to expect from Box Eye Care. They have an in-house lab, which allows them to get you in and out with your new look, new frames, the new you, seeing clearly into your future in an hour in most cases. Visit them online at boxeyecare.com. That's Daniel Box and his team. And also want to remind you that you can get in on the conversation on the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions Hotline. That's 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That's the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions Hotline, which is open for business. And for those of you who join us on the live stream, you can always add your thoughts, your comments, and your reactions to the program. We won't have X this morning, but we'll be adding DC to the conversation here in just a moment. And before we do that, want to remind you that this is a day that the Lord has made. So let's rejoice, be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, DC. How you doing, sir?
Oh, doing great, Barton. Thanks for having me on.
Glad to have you on. We got lots of conversation to get to. Of course, we'll have a weekend recap. By weekend recap, we'll look at the good, the bad, the ugly. After we go through that, we'll see if you have any other takeaways from the game. We'll look around and see which players have kind of caught your attention so far this, early season, breaking down players of the game from this specific game, but just overall, since we have an extra week, kind of look at what players have already had impact, surprising impact, and then we'll look around the SEC a little bit, specifically start to look at our next opponent. And time permitting, we may bring up a couple other topics. But to get things, let's go ahead and get things started this morning, DC, as we start the conversation with what was your good from the game?
Well, I think I had two goods. One on offense was just the consistent play of the offensive line and our ability to not make penalties or mistakes. I think it was a really big thing. I think they were challenged during the week, and I think the team responded. And I think we see now with Proctor in the game, I believe we're a much better line. It gives us strength all across the front, be able to do more things. And I think our only 4 penalties for the entire game was a huge improvement in my opinion.
All right, I'm going to ask it because we've all assumed it. Put me in that category. Are we reading too much into Proctor doing it? I know we played a bigger logo Saturday, but was the Wisconsin defensive front as good as that South Florida front?
Well, I think they were comparable across the board. I think South Florida had about 2 really good players as far as athletics that were maybe a little athletic players that were really a little ahead of the Wisconsin team. But if you look at it as a whole, I think the Wisconsin players were a little more consistent. So I think it was a play of our offensive line played better than they did against South Florida was one reason that we see the difference in the game.
I think they played better, but I'm not ready to 100% write home that. I think South Florida's front 7 was significantly better than Wisconsin, not just on athletic ability. I think it was on the way they used them. My concern, not say concern. What I'm still waiting to see, DC, on Proctor is his back pedal against a speed rusher. Wisconsin didn't have what South Florida had, and Wisconsin doesn't have a walker like Georgia. So, is our offensive line good? Was it to play good? Absolutely. We had 2 false starts versus 6 holding penalties or whatever it was, or 8. Significant improvement. And you can't help but be better when probably 50 to 70% of your snaps was played with this group. And barring Pritchett, I would say if you just take the right tackle and just, say that you have the 2 interchangeable pieces, I would say 95% of the snaps this summer have been with the 5 you saw Saturday. So I agree with the good. I'm playing devil's advocate this morning because to me, I still want to see him backpedal against a speed rusher. Now, he looked better, DC. He looked the part. He didn't look heavy-footed. I just don't think that Wisconsin has the speed that South Florida had. And I do not think that, there was a couple things. You were about to say something before. I was
going to say I definitely agree with you, and I think there's something that no one's talking about in all of this when you mention South Florida is that Alabama's 3 opponents through the first 3 weeks they played. You know what the record is outside of their games against Alabama?
You're undefeated, probably.
They're all undefeated. And
right.
We're talking about South Florida and Western Kentucky, who, are not your big conference teams, so they don't just play gimme games at all around. I mean, they play competition that are on the same level. So they are better, and so everybody's undefeated. So we have played against some really good competition. I think in the first 3 games that has tested us and helped us get better. I really believe.
I don't think South Florida has the depth of an SEC school, but I think their front 7 was an SEC-style front. And like I said, they play to create chaos. And they did that against us. They created chaos. I guess the follow-up I was getting ready to say, DC, is when you look at the offensive line, Caden Proctor being back has to help it, right? So there's no way to get around that. But what I still want to see from him before I go all in, I'm sold on him right now. I mean, not. I hope nobody hears me saying that. But there was a couple things that he struggled with last year, and it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Cap handles this versus, how Coach Wolf handled it last year. He struggled in the back pedal, and we saw a little bit of it. He looked more comfortable, DC, doing that, but it was a switching. It was when knowing when to take the guy on the outside versus the inside, those types of changes in protection and passing one guy off to the other guy when they loop and stunt and twist. We didn't get to see a lot of that Saturday, and that's what can create chaos for an offensive lineman. And he really struggled with that from the first game, and he still struggled with it against Michigan. So I want to see that. I'm making the assumption that he's done that. But on a side note, do you find it interesting, DC, that for whatever reason, what he taught here at Alabama didn't work, but it worked against Georgia? Oh, my Coach Wolf.
I find that interesting. I mean, and I do see some improvement in Proctor. Like you said, he hasn't been tested yet on those things, but I see some improvement in his technique under Coach Cap. But I also see an improvement in his stamina. It seems like he's in much better shape, and that may cause him to play a little more fleet-footed than flat-footed. So I think that's one thing about this Alabama team. It seems like we're in much better shape this year than last year.
I would agree with that. There's an old saying, DC, fatigue makes cowards of us all.
Yeah.
You can be the best player in the world, but if you can only do it for 5 plays, all I have to do is to get you to that 6th play for you to lose a little bit. And I can tell you, he didn't look like it, but I still don't know how DC. We're definitely playing stronger as the game goes along. But I'm really hoping that when we play Georgia, that we have a little longer sustained drives, because what I've seen from this Georgia team, especially if you go back to the Clemson game, if you get a little fatigued, they'll lean on you. Because in the first half, and in the first half against Clemson and Kentucky, they have a total of 6 points. Let that sink in.
Yep.
And then they have 40 something in the second half. So,
yep.
So conditioning will matter in this game. Hey, we're going to go keep the conversation rolling. We're going to doing the good, the bad, the ugly. We camped out on that good, mostly just talking about Caden Proctor. We'll continue to talk about this O-line, like what we saw. We'll get the bad and ugly. If he has any of that, then we'll change over to other takeaways and players of the game. If you want to get in on the conversation, call us on the Empowerment Strategy Solutions hotline, 205-342-9904. That's the Empowerment Strategy Solutions hotline. Go to Empowerment Strategies, empowermentstrategy.com. That's empowerment with the letter M, empowermentstrategy.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Well, hello and happy Tuesday to you. We're not bad at all right now. As a matter of fact, we're in pretty great shape for you Tuesday starting out. 2059 eastbound, all you have to worry about is construction between Joe Malisham and McFarland Boulevard, and 2059 eastbound between
800-611-7121. 800-611-7121. That's 800-611-7121.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
It's a dry forecast for the rest of this week. The sky partly to mostly sunny today, the high 86. Clear tonight, the low 62. And for tomorrow and Thursday, a good supply of sunshine both days. Highs between 85 and 88 degrees. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. Want to invite you to go continue to choose the best of what Tuscaloosa has to offer. And when it comes to restaurants, nobody's been doing it any longer, any better than Taco Casa. Taco Casa, quality, taste, and value under the biggest cactus in town. Go check them out for lunch and or dinner. That's Taco Casa, tacocasa.com. You can find them in 6 locations around West Alabama, Tuscaloosa and West Alabama, one up in Birmingham off of Lakeshore Drive. That's Taco Casa, tacocasa.com. All right, let's keep it rolling right here on your home for Alabama Sports Top 100.9, 1230 a.m. WTBC. We have DC Capstone Report on with us on the Empowerment Strategy Solutions hotline. And you can join the conversation there as well. And we got a couple comments coming in off a chat that we'll get to. Curtis Moore has a sidebar conversation regarding Miami, but in regards to the Caden Proctor, he said, I agree, Martin. I'm curious to see how Proctor does with the pass offense, pass set offense. And I know the Pritchett and Roberts did a great job with the pass. Not the pass offense, the pass off, meaning, passing one guy to the other DC. And Pritchett and Robert did a really good job with that Saturday. Let's keep the conversation rolling. DC, did you have anything from the bad standpoint?
Well, I think just basically my bad and my ugly kind of go together. But the bad, I think, was the injuries that we incurred for the Alabama team, especially what I call friendly fire injuries. The injury to Quay Russaw was a roll-up from one of our players rolling up on him during trying to make a tackle, and the injury to Malachi Moore was an injury to the head where he hit one of our players trying to make the tackle at the same time. Those type of injuries are common in football. They happen. It's just bad luck, bad timing, and bad things when those things happen. I think the ugly was the injury to Wisconsin's quarterback. Really saw his knee give way right when he made a plant on the sideline right before he got tackled, and looked like a bad injury.
Yeah, and he was ruled out for the season yesterday, DC. Yeah. So it ended up being tough. Being exactly what we thought it was.
I don't think Coach did anything on there to cause that. I think his knee gave out when he planted right before he tackled him.
Oh yeah, I think he was hurt before he got to the ground. You can see that when he planted, it kind of gave way a little bit. I thought visually, Quay Russaw's injury looked really bad. But of course, I pray anytime I see these guys get in those types of situations, DC. But I thought that hearing Coach saying that he may be back, they may be doing some things this week, is encouraging. So it came at the right time as far as if there's a right time to get an injury. Having an open week and having it happen early in the game. People don't realize that either, because sometimes they start the treatment on those guys immediately because they're able to start the immediacy of it. DC, the swelling doesn't happen. And it's so technology does so many good things. anything else you have from the good, bad, and ugly? Because I want to get your reaction to something since you use offensive line. I'm going to play some audio from Coach that I think kind of goes in line with what you said.
Well, I think good was, on the defensive side of the ball, just the team, the players had listened again. It's good that they listened to their coaches during the week and they executed. I think sometimes we heard last year that we're going to get this fixed, and it never got fixed. But this week we heard we didn't get turnovers enough, and we made it a point in practice to make that a point. And it looked like the players were really hunting turnovers. We had like 4 turnovers in the fumbles, and then there was pass breakups where they touched the ball and almost had an interception. So I think that was I love to hear when a coach says we're going to emphasize it, and then the players go out and execute it. That to me is a good cultural thing. It's a good indicator of a good culture on a team, and I like that. I think that was good from this game.
All right. There's a couple of things I want to hear. I think I'm going to go ahead and play this audio first, DC, and then I'm going to circle back on a couple guys. We could technically do them in the good and the bad, but since you brought up that about the offensive line, I want to play Coach DeBoer's statement when he was asked about the offensive line. Listen to what he says about the offensive line having this unit together, but then what it means for this offensive team. Here's Coach Kalen DeBoer.
I think they just did a consistent job of making sure Jalen, could stay upright, wasn't rushed, hurried. It's amazing how your play calls can just be so much easier, and you're in down and distances that much more favorable when you can protect your quarterback and make every throw count. Where there's not throwaways where you're getting hit, and I thought there was just good gelling, considering it was really their first game action altogether, and then. Between running backs and Jalen, just finding the different ways to attack with the run game, and they just, opened up the seams. And I felt like really not any missed assignments. I'm sure there's something in there that we'll find, but when it came to run the football, just getting those big bodies all working together, and whatever play was called, I felt like they were, in sync and giving us a chance, and then letting Jam, and I know Jam had a big game, and then Jalen as well. So I liked the balance of what we were able to do, both run and pass, and that starts up front.
So, DC, I have so much. He said so many buzzwords there. I mean, he literally said enough that I could take the whole show and just camp out on that clip. And so I'm going to, give you a chance to respond, but for the rest of y'all, we'll go deeper and deeper on what all he said in that particular clip. But what's some of the things that jump out at? I shouldn't say the first. What's some of the things that jump out at you?
Consistency, that jumps out at you because that's something they've been working on, trying to build. Gelling, that work that talks about how this line was together all during fall camp, and we really hadn't seen this line together.
Let me ask you this. Why does everybody keep saying this line was together when the majority of the snaps was actually Wilkin was first team and Proctor? Does that really speak to how much these two guys were literally neck and neck? I mean, because they said it over and over. They said over and over in the game that this is a 5. Well, this really wasn't the 5. The first 5 would have been Wilkin at right tackle, had Pritchett, because Pritchett wasn't starting at right tackle the first game. But go ahead, what were you about to say?
Well, when I say this line, I think Wilkin as a starter and Elijah Pritchett were interchangeable. That's what we were told pre-game for the first game, and I think they both could play at the right tackle, and they both did a good job in this game. So I don't have a problem with either one of them. But right. I think that it just shows you that they both have spent so much. All of the lines spent so much time together in these positions that they're able to pass off, able to anticipate. And those are a couple of things I heard. But then the second one was the one that excites me the most, and something I've been saying forever. It all starts up front. When you say that, it's a loaded statement because it's got so much you unpack from it. But and what excites me the most is when he said when the line performs this way, then you don't worry about what play calls you make. You can what I think he's saying is I can open my whole playbook. I have confidence in this line setting a pocket so I can throw and call all the plays that I want to call, which leads you to believe that if that's the true in this line, at this game, then on some of the other games, on some of the issues we were having, we couldn't even open up our playbook because we didn't have confidence in the line keeping them a good pocket for Jalen to throw some plays out of. So it limited our passing ability and it limited our running lane. So I'm excited about that particular thing.
Yeah, to me, he starts off with he used the word upright, rushed, down in distance. I have been amazed at the fans, the Alabama, so-called Alabama fans, and how much negativity they've had over Jalen Milroe. And I shared this yesterday, DC. I even had someone tell me, well, what's his name is a better quarterback than Jalen? Ty. Jalen's just a better athlete. Wake up. It's not 1975. The quarterback.
If you could say that against Jalen Milroe after all the things he's been able to do, even when he was not protected, and then see what he can do when he is protected. Someone who says that is just not really looking at the football played. You don't get recognized by the Manning Passing Academy, the Reese's Senior Bowl, the Kirk Herbstreit Performers of the Game, and the Heisman Watch. You don't get average, and the SEC Player of the Week. You don't get recognized by people who know football if you're not doing a good job of doing what you're doing. And the throws that Jalen Milroe made in this Wisconsin game when he was given time were spot-on, perfect throws that we haven't seen in a long time from that quarterback position, simply because of the protection that we haven't had a great offensive line since Tua and Jalen were there. To be honest.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about, but it's just the fact that you have not transitioned to what college football and quarterbacks are. Not even college now; it's the NFL now. They're starting to make this whole thing, and the talking heads don't help. Fox News spent half of their show when they were talking about Jalen needs to learn to stand in the pocket and stay in the pocket and throw from the pocket and all this stuff. And I'm like, did they watch the games? I heard people saying he needs to step up in the pocket. Well, he can't step up in the pocket if the pocket is collapsing. He only has one option, and that's the backpedal. But that's what Coach was saying is he said, and we'll keep this conversation going. He said they were upright, keep your quarterback upright. Don't let your quarterback be rushed. All of that leads to down and distance advantage. Then he says, make every throw count because you don't have to throw the ball away, DC, because of the pressure and the pocket collapsing. And so that to me was part of it. We'll pick up the other side. These were the other things he said, DC. And like I said, I'm going to spend some time going deeper on these, but I want to get your initial reaction. Find different ways of attack. No visibly missed assignments from Saturday. Now, he said they may find something on film, but let that sink in for a second, DC. There was not one time Saturday that the offensive line came to the sideline and the coaches were like, dude, you missed this guy. And remember, they already have the window tablets on the sideline. No missed assignments. They were in sync, and you can have a balanced offense. And
exactly.
I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, that one clip, if I'm the other teams and this coaching staff feel like they just got there, it only means uphill from here. We'll talk about those things, DC. We'll get your takeaways, any additional takeaways, and your surprise players or players of the game. Those conversations and more coming up as we get the break here. I appreciate you being a part of the program each and every day right here. With the wealth of experience in both business and leadership, I bring a unique perspective to the world of real estate as a former chief growth officer of a financial institution. I have a deep understanding of financial structure and keen insight on goals and challenges of home buyers. I have combined my expertise and work ethic to drive the same type of work ethic for you when it comes to you buying and selling your home that I had when I was a two-time SEC champion and national champion at the University of Alabama. I would love the opportunity to help you list your home, buy your new home, get you in and out of the market, whatever your real estate needs may be. I've partnered with the Realty One Group legends here in Tuscaloosa, serving the state of Alabama, specializing with focus in West Alabama. If you want to find out more, you can call me at 205-826-1381 or mhoustonbanking and real estate at gmail.com. That's mhoustonbanking and real estate at gmail.com.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Well, hello and happy Tuesday to you. We're not bad at all right now. As a matter of fact, we're in pretty great shape for you Tuesday starting out. 2059 eastbound, all you have to worry about is construction between Joe Malisham and McFarland Boulevard, and 2059 eastbound.
Buffet.com or call 205-810-8888. The all-new Child's Country Buffet opening soon on Skyland Boulevard. Join us for a meal to remember.
It locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Dixie Battery Supply carries a wonderful automotive line, sustainable through the years of wear and tear from a vehicle on your back. You can check them out. Their shelves are stocked with the most common of all inventories, especially when it comes to your battery needs. But you can also inquire with them if you have some rare automobile needs as well. They have commercial batteries, marine and power sports batteries, golf cart, scrubber, and sweeper batteries. If you're looking for a battery to power your device, then you need to go to Dixie Battery Supply. DixieBatterySupply.com is where you can find them online, or visit their Tuscaloosa or Northport location, or call them at 205-758-9190. That is Dixie Battery Supply. Why would you go anywhere else to find your batteries? Well, you shouldn't. And you'll never feel powerless again. Power up your devices with Dixie Battery Supply. DixieBatterySupply.com. All right, DC. For those of you who may be listening, the phone lines are open. We have DC on the Empowerment Strategy and Solutions hotline, and we'll welcome you into the conversation there. 205-342-9904. Virgil Williams saying biggest statement that he made was when the quarterback, and that was the first statement he really made, DC. He said they were consistent, and then he said, and they kept him upright. Biggest statement was when the QB can stay upright, he can make the plays. We've been saying that for a year. Also, Bam Bam 72 saying it's amazing to me to see how many that is actually paying attention cannot see the improvement in Milroe. Here, and I agree with Bam Bam there, DC, but one more statement. Bam Bam 72 said, if Milroe would have had the kind of game Beck had, media and fans would be killing Milroe. Here's the thing. Everybody acts like Milroe needed this big, huge improvement from last year. Did anybody watch last year? I mean, here's the question I have, DC. Tell me one game that Georgia won because Beck put them on his back and it was based on what Beck did.
No, I don't think
you can't say somebody else. Like if you talk to the Georgia fans, yeah, they won a lot of games last year, but the one game that they needed Beck to win because Bowers wasn't 100% healthy was Alabama.
And he couldn't do it.
And he didn't do it, right?
That's right.
Go back last year and see how many games that Milroe, like, okay, the LSU battle with Milroe balled out. You can look at the throw that Milroe made against Auburn. I mean, you can look at the way Milroe played against Georgia. There's multiple times where you can say, I don't know we win this without Milroe. I don't know if you can say that with that. And like I said, anyway, your thoughts there, DC, on those things. Find different ways to attack, no missed assignments, in sync, and balance.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it like it is. There are some Alabama fans that just don't want Milroe to succeed, and they'll complain about whatever he does. I even heard a few complaining that he ran the ball too much when we were on the goal line, not realizing that he's not calling the plays, that those design runs are called by the OC in the box, and it's based on the advantage that we have with the people in the box or not. So. I mean, some folks are just not. They don't want him to be quarterback. They don't like him succeeding, and that's just crazy. I thought we'd gotten further than that in 2024.
I pointed out that what's his name is now a Heisman Trophy winner, and all you've heard him talk about is how athletic he is and how different he is than Peyton and Eli because he's athletic like his granddaddy. Arch Manning gets applauded for having a 67-yard run. Milroe gets dogged because that's part of his game naturally. That shows you all you need to know. DC, let's get Pat in, and then we'll get back to a couple other questions. Pat, you're in on the Empowerment Strategies and Solutions Hotline. What you got on your mind, sir?
Yeah, let's talk. Just get off the subject of Milroe and talk about another quarterback. A quarterback that's in the NFL that was Alabama's number one, Bryce Young, that been benched. Oh, tell me about it, Martin. You played in the pros a little while. Is quarterback the only position that they just can't get right, or is that he needs a new offensive coordinator and a new team?
Well, I'll let DC respond first, then I'll give you my thoughts. DC.
Well, I mean, I think, again, he didn't have any offensive line that's keeping him upright. I mean, he's running for his life almost every play that I've watched him play, and now you're going to bench him because of everybody playing around him, and he didn't have the offensive weapons. He doesn't have an offensive line. I would dare say that he didn't have an offensive line or the weapons that he had when he was in Alabama. So I don't think you can actually fault him, but,
Okay, so he needs a new team. I was just wondering what y'all's thoughts were on it.
I'll tell you this much,
benching him's not going to change that.
Football. How about that?
Yeah. Benching him's not going to change that. Then that's what I agree with.
Well, and here's the thing: the new quarterback will probably come in and play better than Bryce did. Okay, let's just be honest. I would be surprised if he doesn't. Okay. But the other part of that, Pat, is the quarterback as coaches. If your team is struggling, how do you show your ownership, your fan base that you're trying to get better? Do you bench the running back? Do you bench an offensive lineman? Do you bench a linebacker? No. The only when your team is losing. Like if your team is losing, like the Eagles lost last night, the Eagles lost last year, who did they blame? Who did they start blaming? Jalen. When their defense couldn't stop the other team, they still find a way to put it on the quarterback, right?
Kind of looked like to me they should have. Go ahead.
No, but what my point behind that, Pat, is the quarterback is the lightning rod. They get way too much credit when they win and way too much credit when they lose. If you didn't watch last night's game, Jalen Hurts threw a pass. It was a 3-point game. They had 3rd and 3. He hit Barkley in the hands. I mean, an easy pass, same pass they had ran the drive before, wide open. He catches it. He runs in and scores. They go up by 10. He drops it. They kick a field goal. The other team goes down and gets a touchdown. They throw an interception to end the game. Jalen does. So who gets blamed? So anyway, but Bryce has struggled, Pat. Let's be real. Bryce hasn't forgotten how to play football. And there's a lot of quarterbacks that, and unfortunately for Bryce, he is going to be, it's like quarterbacks come into the league as pairs, right? And so the guy that they passed on at Carolina went to Houston and got a great new coach, great new organization, great defense around him, and is balling out in C.J. Stroud. So that is also hurting Bryce even more because the Texans weren't expected to be that good. And the quarterback, when you play that good, even though he's playing great, the quarterback's also going to get even more credit. So thanks, Pat. Appreciate you, man.
Dallas should have benched Dak too. Man, the way Prescott played was pitiful. But I was a Saints fan all day long.
You just blame Prescott for the Dallas loss, and they got beat 40-something to 19. Thanks, Pat. DC just proved my point. He just blamed Dak. He just blamed Dak. The Saints scored on their first 6 of their first 7 drives, if I'm not mistaken. Touchdowns. I mean, but he just said they should have benched Dak. So, you see what I'm saying? All right, thanks, Matt. DC, you got anything before we get to break on that? We'll come back on the other side for a little rapid fire.
I agree. The quarterbacks always take the blame no matter what's going on around them. That's true. I do disagree with you a little bit. I'm not sure a 36-year-old Andy Dalton is going to be able to stay upright behind that offensive line at Carolina. I think he may not finish the season either at quarterback.
Well, I didn't say he'll finish the season. I said he'll play better. Playing better is relative, DC. I think that Dalton has nothing to lose, so he'll play more carefree. And he's played the game, DC. There is experience you just can't duplicate. Think about Bryce in what he's been trying to do. He's been running for his life for 19 games. And this was one of the great things that I heard an announcer talk. Bryce barely played in the preseason. Stroud played in, I think, every game. Let that sink in for a second.
Yep.
That's philosophy, too. That's approach. That's stupidity to not have played Bryce Young in the preseason, coming off of last season. But Stroud was the MVP, Rookie of the Year candidate or winner or whatever he was. And he played in the preseason a lot compared to what most quarterbacks play. Stroud, I mean, if I had Bryce Young, he'd have been getting every snap.
Exactly.
So this is also a first-year coach who may or may not be a good coach. I know that Stroud hit a home run with his coach.
No doubt.
And you know, the other part, and I could keep going on. Pat kind of railroaded your show, but defensive-minded coaches also help young quarterbacks.
Most definitely.
Because they don't put them in bad situations. They don't take too many chances, and they play field position, which also opens up the playbook. We'll be back on the other. Go ahead. You have something else?
That's exactly right. It has to come down to coaching philosophy. I think that's a big part of it.
Yep, absolutely. We'll be back on the other side to do a little rapid fire with DC Capstone Report.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Tuesday morning. Tuscaloosa Real Estate is fighting the proposed property tax increase to be voted on in the city of Tuscaloosa on September the 24th. They have formed a political action committee called Stop the Big Tax to defeat it. But there are also those who believe it's desperately needed. It's been 40 years since property taxes have been increased for education within the city of Tuscaloosa. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage all throughout the day. It's absolutely free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We are moving with a purpose all along the Tuscaloosa freeways and side streets. Not even so much as a stalled vehicle, really, I'm not seeing here. Now, if you're traveling around the area, always construction zone. So, yeah, that's something you have to be careful about. McFarland East and Westbound between Jack Warner and
or Town Square Media Tuscaloosa radio websites. Fill out the Advertise Here form. Put the power of Town Square Media to work for your business.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by Box Eye Care. It's now time for the Harvest Church 2-minute warning, where we love God, love people. Come check us out on this Sunday or tomorrow night at 6 p.m. We have a meal, and then the message follows that at 6:30. We love the opportunity to love on you while we love on God. Check us out. That's Harvest Church, actuscaloosa.com. All right, DC, let's do a little rapid fire. First of all, tell us about your sponsors.
Oh, you can. My sponsors are RollTideBama.com and FreelancePictures.com. Those are Lance's sites that you can get some great Alabama content from. And you can also, our other sponsor is Karen Cottingham Realtor right here in Tuscaloosa at the Williams Group at Keller Williams. You can contact Karen for all your real estate needs at 205-887-4008. And I want to announce again, Martin, that our podcast is now available on Spotify. So if you've been looking for us and you don't have any other social medias, you can find us on Spotify at DC Capstone Report.
All right. That's DCCapstoneReport.com. A new podcast has dropped, so go check it out. Also, you can find it on Spotify. All right, DC, let me see, before I get, I need to make a quick announcement. I forgot to announce it yesterday. Tim Coggins was our winner of the Alabama Legacy Collection score prediction contest. He nailed it, 42-10. So that's Tim Coggins. If you see him, tell him congratulations. Thanks for participating. We do have the contest going. I haven't really highlighted it a lot, but you can you can give me your score. And this week, it's going to be Georgia's total offense. What do you think Georgia's total offense will be in the score prediction contest? All right, DC, any other takeaways you have? We'll do a little rapid fire.
Well, yeah, I thought the team overall played better in the game against Wisconsin, and I think the road noise test was a good test for them. So, that's one of the things. Another observation I have is L.T. Overton. He was my player of the game on defense. If you look at the first three games, he has more pressures on the quarterback than any other player on the Alabama team. Let that sink in. A guy who's not even starting really does a good job. He's got a great upside. I think the ceiling is very high for L.T. Overton.
Yeah, L.T. Overton was my player of the game overall, offense or defense. Of course, Jalen Milroe is an easy one. This is both positive and concern at the same time. Sab, to me, Keon, the dude, he is a baller. He's a player. He has great ball instincts, making you not miss, our best defensive player last year.
Keon Sab, absolutely. When I look at Keon Sab, I see, and I don't know if all your listeners remember him, but he looks to me like an Eddie Jackson when he plays. He's tall, his length, his ball hawking skills. He's really a great player.
And he's physical. I do have concern with Red Morgan. This is the third game in a row that quarterbacks have missed guys who were behind him. One thing I will give Beck, I'm not impressed overall with Beck as a player. Anybody that listens to our show knows that, but he'll hit those guys. So that's a concern of mine. What are your thoughts there?
I agree. I kind of highlight that on my podcast this week as one of the things we need to improve on the bye week. the good of it is they've had 3 weeks to learn from their games where we've won. But if we're not careful, that could be a really big place where we could have a explosive play against us. So far, hadn't been able to do that. We've been able to avoid that. But I think that there needs to be some, Red Morgan. I think he has a great upside to him, and we've had freshmen before that have made mistakes that have cost us some big plays, and he might be the one to do it again unless he makes a little change in his technique, or they may do a cover 2 when he's in the game. I think against a pinpoint passer like Beck.
Yeah, and I think it's not more that they have managed to get the matchup that they want than necessarily his skill set. I don't think he can cover, if he ends up on Ryan Williams, it doesn't matter what they have called. Ryan Williams is going to do a safety. And somehow that's happened a couple times in a row, DC. Any surprise player that has jumped out for you?
Well, I think it shouldn't be a surprise, but I think everyone, preseason was talking Justice Haynes. But, Jam Miller jumps out and says, hey, don't forget about me. And I don't think we should be surprised, but I think it's a surprise to a lot of the talking heads who were talking about this is Justice Haynes' year. Don't get me wrong, Justice Haynes is a fantastic player, and I see why they would talk about him. But Jam Miller just has a wiggle, a cut back, a quick step that's allowed him to elude a lot of and hit the gap so fast that he's exploited a lot of the defenses he's played against this year. So in my opinion, he's somewhat a surprise, but I guess we shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, we shouldn't be surprised by it, but it's a pleasant surprise that he's playing to the level he's playing. He's a downhill runner, DC, and our best strength is up the middle, and I think he's a better, center guard, runner than Haynes. And I think that's what you're seeing. That's the best part of our offensive line. Hey, that's DC Capstone Report. He joins us every Tuesday. Breaking it down, you can find him at dccapstonereport.com. So go check him out, and he'll be glad to take care of you. Thanks, DC.
Thanks, Martin. Have a great day, and roll tide.
Roll tide. Hey, I'm Martin Houston. That was DC Capstone Report. That's Chase Brumfield pressing all the right buttons. Remember this, trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll tide out there, everybody. And don't forget, the Martin Houston, I have started working in real estate. I've joined the Realty One team. You can find me or email me, mhoustonbankinrealestate@gmail.com. That's Realty One. Roll tide, everybody. We'll catch you on the flip side on tomorrow.